Jada is back at it here to give everyone another Walking Dead Season 6 episode review video. But before I get into that, it's extremely important. If you're not caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching The Walking Dead, for you to do your due diligence and pay attention to that episode title, I'll put that title in the description for you. If that happens to be the case and you're not caught up, I suggest, and so does everybody else, that you don't watch this video any further, simply to avoid spoilers. This will be The Walking Dead Season 6, episode number 3. The title of this episode is called Thank You. This will be my review, reaction, recap of the episode. And keep in mind, it's an episode I've seen many times. Just reviewing it to have it reviewed on my channel, and reviewing it due to the fact that they announced that The Walking Dead will conclude after season 11 doesn't necessarily mean the end of the Walking Dead story, just the end of the Walking Dead flagship show. We have Rick, Glenn, and Michonne and others race towards Alexandria as the horn draws the rear half of the Walker parade towards the town. Rick orders Daryl to continue leading the rest of the herd away from Alexandria as part of his plan. When the horn stops, Rick decides to circle back for an RV, improvising to draw the breakaway herd back to the route he had planned. He instructs Glenn and Michonne to lead the group back home, to not stop or fight anything on their way, and to keep moving. That's the key. He tells them to try to save everyone, but if they cannot, leave some behind to ensure that they keep moving. This is overheard by Heath. Heath is not happy. And then while Rick has stopped the group to give these instructions, however, one Alexandrian is caught by a walker and killed. Daryl ignores Rick's plan and leaves eventually. Leaves Sasha and Abraham to lead the herd by themselves. And then Michonne and Glenn's group suffer attrition as Annie twists her ankle and is in a fight with walkers. David is bitten in the shoulder while Sturgis, I forgot about Sturgis, panics and shoots Scott in the leg before running off. And then slowed by two walkers are two wounded and encountering additional walkers. Michonne and Glenn refuse to leave anyone behind despite Rick's orders. And then the group finds Sturgis's hat, barely keeping it together. Nicholas leads them through familiar territory to a shelter in a pet store. The group finds Sturgis's body being devoured by walkers, a group of them, as a matter of fact. And then Glenn devises a plan to light one of the buildings on fire to distract the undead, and Nicholas offers to lead him to a feed store. And then Annie and Scott suggest that they be left behind, but Heath insists otherwise and glares at Michonne like Heath is not okay with that. When Michonne confronts Heath about his attitude, the latter tells that he overheard what Rick said about that, and while the former counters by saying they have not left anyone behind and defends Rick's brutal attitude by telling Heath that he has not experienced what Rick's group has. Newlywed David, knowing is going to die, writes a farewell note and to his wife Betsy, but Michonne refuses to carry it for him and reassures him that he can make it home for a final goodbye. I don't know if that's the best idea. Somebody that's wounded and will eventually turn, when you want to take care of them when they're normal, as opposed to when they're turned and a pain in the ass. And then Michonne dispatches two walkers that were hidden inside the pet store, the noise from which draws the herd to their location. They are forced to flee, though without Glenn and Nicholas, they don't have enough able-bodied people to help the injured. And then Annie trips on an improvised crutch and falls, urging the group to run moments before she is devoured by walkers. So Annie is dead, and we had just met her in the premiere with Scott and Heath. And then we have David, who can't climb over the fence fast enough, and he is eaten alive against a fence, dropping his note to Betsy, and nobody was able to recover it. So I hope somebody relays to Betsy that David really liked her and was happy that he was able to meet her, but I don't know if that's the case. And then Heath and Michonne, carrying Scott between them, have managed to escape the town and arrive in Alexandria, which they find has been attacked Glenn and Nicholas discover the feed store has already been burned down, and then Nicholas tries to lead them away, but they find themselves surrounded by and trapped in a dead end where they desperately climb a dumpster to avoid the crutches of the walkers. And then before all this happened, Glenn and Rick had one more discussion, and Glenn had called Rick a dumbass on the walkie-talkie, and that's a callback to the pilot episode when Rick was in the tank and Glenn said, "Hey, dumbass." So that's pretty crazy. But anyway, so Glenn and Nicholas are on this dumpster, and they're around a whole swarm of walkers all over the place. And then Nicholas calms himself and thanks Glenn before shooting himself in the head. And as he falls, Glenn falls with him onto the mass of walkers, and Glenn screams in anguish as bloody viscera are torn out of Nicholas's chest, meant to trick the audience into thinking Glenn has died. So I assume if you're watching this video that you've already seen The Walking Dead. They tried to do this episode where you think Glenn is dead. Well, my initial reaction to this episode was, well, Glenn is going to die with nobody near. He's just near by a dumpster in the middle of nowhere. Glenn's death is going to have meaning. There's going to be people there to witness it, so they're sad. Now, he could turn into a walker and people could see Walker Glenn, but it wouldn't have the same effect. So I knew, even though he should have died because of the massive walkers around the area, it wasn't going to happen in this particular episode. They tried to fool us. They even took him out of the credits, had a in memoriam thing, but he came back, I think, in episode 6 or 7. So, yes, Glenn did not die, but it was funny that he called Rick a dumbass and all that. But anyways, Rick actually arrives in the RV, which he drives to another location in hopes of single-handedly intercepting the herd and salvaging his failed plan. He radios Daryl with his intentions, but is ambushed by the wolves that Morgan had convinced to flee Alexandria because they had guns and the wolves didn't. Now, Rick kills all 5 wolves and finds one of them had a jar of baby food from Alexandria. And then as walkers approach, Rick is unable to start the RV shot up, which becomes surrounded by even more walkers. So there's walkers galore that are around the RV, and Rick is all alone. And what is Rick going to do? And that's how the episode ends. So, I mean, it's a pretty crazy episode, especially when you thought Glenn was dead. I did not for 1 minute think Glenn would have died in that episode. There was nobody around to see it, and it wouldn't make sense for, characters to die when nobody is around, in my opinion, unless they die off screen, which does happen sometimes, but a character like Glenn is going to die with people watching. So, other than that, I mean, I don't mind it, though, because it made it more memorable, and the episode was crazy intense, too, with walkers randomly showing up everywhere. As far as the score of the episode, I'm going to give it an 8.7. If Glenn really had died in this episode, it would have been like a 9.3, and maybe it should be a 9, but because of it wasn't they didn't fool me at all. They did not fool me at all, so I'm giving it less points because the writers tried to fool me, and it didn't work at all. So 8.7, still a good episode, still one of my favorite. If I do like a top 25 list, this is probably top 25 and maybe top 20. I don't know if it's like top 15, though, without Glenn dying in this. And we had some new characters that we just met that died, so that doesn't really mean a lot. So, and then my character of the episode, I mean, it could go to a couple different people. I'm going to give it to... This could be a Michonne episode. This could be a Glenn episode. This could be a Rick episode. I'm going to give it to Glenn. Glenn did a good job on this episode. He was really good. And he let Nicholas live. And then Nicholas actually became a pretty good guy. He was like Glenn's right-hand man, I think, from what I saw in the 3 new episodes they aired, number 1, number 2, and number 3. So, well, he wasn't even in number 2, but... So that's my score. That's my character of the episode. You've heard what I have to say. Now it's your turn. So if you're a fan of The Walking Dead and you like Season 6, Episode number 3, thank you. Go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead. I'll take them in. Here, I'll give you 10 seconds. Smash it. If you know anybody else that you think would be interested in watching these videos, share the video to them. Let them know to share it with anybody that they'd like to share it with. Don't forget to leave me a comment in the comment section. And that can be a lot of things. You could talk specifically about the episode, your favorite moment, score, character of the episode. You could talk about your favorite episodes, your least favorite episodes, favorite characters, least favorite characters, whatever you want to talk about. That belongs in the comment section to last, but certainly not least. Don't forget to hit that sub button. subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.